Good afternoon everyone, Chris from Coffs Performance Tuning again. Just following up off that last video we put on Facebook asking you guys if you wanted to see a bit more videoing of the dyno and all that kind of stuff. Just like to say thanks. We've got a heap of interest, heap of comments, heap of support, and I'm pretty excited that we're going to start showing you a bit more of that stuff. We even got asked to see more of the builds like what I'm doing here with the VN and the LH especially, to show a bit of that, so I'm going to do a bit of that too. I've just come in on a Sunday afternoon to do a little bit to the VN. I just thought I'd show you around the car a little bit, show you what I'm doing, where I'm up to with it. And I've got the engine here that was in it. I'll tell you a little bit about that. And yeah, show you a bit of that, see what you reckon. So this engine I built, it's probably 3.5 years ago now. I really like this little motor. I've had a lot of fun with it over the years. It made 530 horsepower to the tyres, which is pretty cool for a standard stroke L98. It's just a stock GM alley block. Still got the stock GM L98 crank, Kelly's rods, CP pistons, Higgins sand seed, L98 square port heads obviously. It's got a couple of trick bits like the Motion Raceworks steam port kit, Rollmaster single idler gear drive, something a bit different for an LS, a solid roller camshaft, cam motion billet. It's a monster cam for the streets, nearly, I think it is in the 700 thou lift. I think it's in 260s, 270s duration. It's got Yellow Terra roller rockers, Proa solid lifters, 1209X pack springs, CID manifold. I love that manifold, it works so well. A Bow Laws Performance 4500 Dominator methanol carb. Yeah, pretty cool little engine. I think the best it ran in this car was a 1070 or 1080, which is pretty cool for a big heavy car. This thing's not light. Heavy leather interior, heaps of wires, like it's by no means a light car. Yeah, I had a heap of fun with it. So originally the camshaft that was in it, it was a cam motion cam as well. As you can see, I love cam motion stuff. I love the quality of their grinds. I love the quality of their billets, sorry. And I really like the grinds, they make power. Yeah, it had the original camshaft was a bit smaller, but it was on a 117+4. And it used to, like on the dyno, I think I only ever turned it to about 8,081, which is a lot for an aluminium block. But it did not lay over, it kept making power. Yeah, it was pretty cool, and it still had a fair bit down low as well, which surprised me with that big manifold. That's a 1050cc carb, and it still had a bit down low. Obviously the converter helped it a lot, had a 5,500 RPM stall in it. But the cam in it now, that was a hydraulic too by the way, the cam in it now, the solid, is on a 106.5 LSA. It sounds mental. Choppy as. It does finish up earlier, it only makes power to about 72, 74 now, but it picked up heaps down low. Heaps and heaps, made heaps more torque. I'll put a video up here of it idling and maybe even a dyno run. That was pretty cool. So on to this engine. Most of you guys probably already know what's inside it from the CPT post a couple of weeks back, but I'll go through it all again just for people that don't know and refresh your memory. It is an LSX cast iron block. It's got a Kelly's Magnum crankshaft, Wiseco boost line, I-beam rods, CP pistons, AFR 6-bolt heads. Once again, cam motion camshaft. Actually, the camshaft that's in this engine is the same as what used to be in the LH, but was also the exact same grind as the 117+4 that was in this engine. Works really well with boost. Yeah, it responded well with that, with the supercharger. Yeah, it's hydraulic, as I said before. Yeah, it's pretty well. That's pretty well it. So the biggest limiting factor with this engine to make it make power is these are only 850 carbs. In my opinion, you do come into power restrictions with carbs if they're too small. When they're on top of a supercharger, the power restriction is huge. You just cannot drag the air through the carbs. Doesn't matter how hard you spin the blower, you will not pull the air through them. Always had fuel supply dramas with these carbs. As you can see, I've got the dual needle and seat bowls, just trying to get fuel in the secondary side. They got 150 thou titanium needle and seats in the primary side and the 2 needle and seats on the secondary side. We always could get enough fuel to the carbies, but just couldn't pull enough fuel through the main well. In another episode, I'll do like a tech on the struggles of methanol carbies, especially with this much power. Let me know if you'd be interested in seeing a bit of that anyway, because I can do videos based on that. Where I'm up to the car at the moment, engine's in it, as you can see. We had a bit of a drama with converter spacing and all that stuff, but because this, as I said before, had a 5,500 race eliminator style converter in it, Dominator, the only converters that I like to use. Obviously that's not going to work with this blower, that'll stretch it to the moon. I'm pretty sure the converter in it now is 3,500. Obviously this thing makes power straight off the hit, so you don't need a massive stall. I've got to change a few things because of the blower drive. The only thing that runs off here besides the supercharger is the alternator, which I have to make a bracket for and mount all that. Water pump is electric Missouri. I'll have to wire that into the Haltech. I normally get the Haltech to leave them off till it hits a certain temperature to try and get temperature in the motor. As you know, methanol runs super cool, so we have the ability for that with the Haltech. Let me show you that. As you can see, it's got a Haltech VMS, GPS speedo, dual channel wideband, all that sort of stuff. That's always been in it ever since I put the LS in it. Originally this car had when I bought it, had a 400 cube small block Chev. I ended up selling that to a good mate of mine. I wish I didn't, because it was a cool little engine, but it only made 400 horsepower tyres and wasn't going to cut the mustard with what I wanted to do for it. Well, these lines here, they're the power steering lines. I've got obviously, as I showed you before, the only thing that runs off the balancer now is the alternator. So I've got to convert it to an after pump. I just put the fittings in the rack and the lines on before the engine went in and just ran them out there for the time being, so it wasn't such a pain to do later. I'll run them in under the car. I'll have to make a mount and mount all that in the boot. I'll get the Haltech to control all that stuff as well. Fuel system wise, you used to have this A1000 reg with the other engine. I've upgraded to the A2000. I like to run return style fuel systems even with carb stuff. Heaps of people run deadhead, seems to work for them. I just don't like it, especially with alcohol fuels. I reckon it works better with return style. And I've been actually looking just today at what fuel pump I'm going to run, because it has an A1000 pump, which is not going to be enough for what we're doing now. Some of the pumps I was looking at to supply enough methanol to this thing were like $3,500, and I sort of thought, yeah, nah, I don't have that kind of spare money just for a fuel pump at the minute. I'm going to buy another A1000 platinum one, same as that one. Yeah, so the Haltech will have that one turned on just for driving around cruising. I'll probably set it up so when the Haltech sees maybe 4 or 5 PSI, it'll turn on a second A1000. And then it should have enough fuel to supply these carbies all the way out the back. I'll probably turn the supercharger down. This blower was the blower that was on the LH. It was 22% overdriven. I'm not going to need to make that much boost in this car. It's uncaged, it's only mini tubbed. It's going to be ridiculous as it is. So I'll probably slow the blower down about 10%, maybe go to 18. I would like to run the 22% pulley on it one day just to see how much power it does make. This engine, this block, when it was in the LH, it had 4070 ball, 4-inch stroker crank, 6125 rods, obviously, and that was 416, I'm pretty sure, off the top of my head. It's now 428, like I said before, so it's got better heads, more cubes, so I won't need to turn the supercharger as hard. Yeah, but yeah, it's a bit of an overview on the VN. Anyway, it's got a 1000 horsepower Craig's automatic split turbo 400. It is mini tubbed and 4-linked. Yeah, the car is mini tubbed and it is 4-linked. To be honest, I don't have the money to do it at the moment, but the rear end needs to be changed. It doesn't work. It's always had an axle tramp problem, this car. Obviously it's because it runs the original Commodore upper control arm mounts, and you just can't get the bar angles to make it work. And with it this low, you can't get the pinion angle right, and it's just axle tramp. So I've tried heavier springs in the coilovers. It just doesn't work. It needs to be redone. But like I said, I'm by no means a millionaire. I have a heap of money. This is just a hobby. Yeah, I will do it one day, but at the moment I was actually thinking about, to get the pinion angle right, because it's a 2-piece shaft still, spacing the centre bearing down. Obviously I have to make a pretty heavy duty sort of a space the centre bearing down a touch, so that I can get a better pinion angle for the back, because with this kind of power and it starts axle tramping, it'll just break everything. It's way overpowered the rear end and tail shaft as it is, and I really don't want it to become unsafe. One thing I will be doing is they're 1/2-inch ARP wheel studs. It's got 31 spline axles, so they should be pretty strong. They're Moses as well, but it's only got 1/2-inch ARP wheel studs. I'm gonna upgrade that to 5/8 before I even drive this car, because yeah, that could quite easily break them with this kind of horsepower, and then we'll be in a world of hurt. The last thing I want is to hurt someone or the car. But yeah, that's a bit of an overview where we're up to with the car and what it is. It's absolutely filthy at the moment because it's been in the build and I haven't put the cover on it, but yeah, I'll get it out and get it washed, tidied up. Get into the wiring. I've got to remake some coolant lines as well, and I'll show you along the way. Just while I'm in here, I just thought I'd show you a quick run of the other Aspo L98 that was in the VN. As you can see, this particular run's 518 horsepower, there's another one 523. I think, I'm pretty sure the most ever made was just over 530, the tyre. It's pretty cool for a little aspirated 6 litre. As you can see, it stands up quick and carries right at the back. This was actually with the 106.5 cam. So it still carried all the way out the back, but it was done by sort of 72, 71. But just thought I'd give you a look. And just to show you what we're now going to be contending with, and just another run, I've got a run here that was the blue LH when it had the LSX in it. Keep in mind it was only 416 cube back then. And it just had square port Higgins heads like what was on the Aspo L98. We used to have head gasket problems at about 950 horsepower sort of thing. Heaps of people sort of say we shouldn't, but that thing used to make about 18, 19 pounds of boost at like 2200 RPM, so the cylinder pressures were through the roof. We didn't have enough clamping force. The decks on a stock GM head, they're just not thick enough to be making, to hold the heads to the block with that kind of cylinder pressure. You get away with it with the turbo stuff, but when you're making, I'll show you here, that's how it used to come on. The yellow runs the Aspo L98 was in the VN, that red runs the Torana. As soon as you jump on it, it was making, what's this particular run? 911 horsepower, and it makes 911 from the moment you stand on it to the moment you get out of it. So yeah, with the turbo stuff, you get away with it because they're linear, but when you're making huge cylinder pressure down low, in my opinion, again, that's when you're going to hurt stuff. And we used to we pushed 2 gaskets out of it, hence the reason we now have the 6-bolt AFRs. So should be sick. Yellow one looks cute, doesn't it? Alright, well that's a bit of an insight to the VN, bit of a look around the car, show you where it's up to and what we're doing soon, all the rest of it. I'll try and film as much as I can. I probably won't get a chance to touch it till next weekend now, but I'll try and keep you posted. Let me know if you want some carb tech videos and that stuff. I'm a bit of an old soul when it comes to that stuff. I love carbs. I don't know why. I think it's just because it's the history. But I can show you when this is on the dyno, the struggles that you have with methanol fuels, with big horsepower, with that style carby, and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, let us know in the comments what you like, what you don't like, and share it around. Appreciate the support. See you guys. One more thing, we're going to have a little sneak peek of the little LC with a small block in it, 383. I'm going to go around to, it's ready to fire up. I'm going to go around and set the timing up now. I'll give you a little sneak peek of the first start in that. Go easy with me with the camera, guys. I'm an absolute moron with the camera, but I'll do my best to show you some cool content on all the cars that we're working with. I'm pretty excited to do it. All right, I'm over at Garthy's house now. We've got the timing set up, it's all locked at 26 degrees. Fuel pump back in it, ready for the first start, which you'll hear now. Do a quick little walk around. I won't go too much into the car at this point in time. I'll do that when it's on the dyno, but I'll give you a quick little sneak peek of it. Alright, this is the next project we've got to, I won't go into it too much at the minute, but let us know if you want to see a bit of a series on it. It's probably going to be single turbo LS Power Glide, it's 4-link rear, full cage, still going to be street registered, but probably at least over 1,000 horsepower. This will be a good one to watch. This one already breaks enough hearts and it's just a little small block.